Okay, I am absolutely loving Tuca and Birdie. It is one of the most zaniest adult series I have seen. It's so unapologetic with its humor, and I could not be angry at it at all. Like, I cannot hate on this whatsoever. If you tried, I'm gonna be real, you probably have no soul. Especially since it has such a strong positivity to it as well as a good sense of realism. Honestly, the best I could describe this is if you were watching a kid series before adults. It prides itself on fun and even has pretty real moments that showcase the human condition, even though almost everyone in this show isn't even human. Hell, some of them aren't even animals, but that doesn't matter since you can full on relate to the characters pretty well. It is a pure embodiment of a good time, and you can tell the makers of this show are having as much fun as they can with it.
It's no big deal.
The show is created by Lisa Hannawalt, who worked as a producer for BoJack Horseman, so it's expected for this series to get into some serious matters of the human condition with animals. Honestly, this show manages to take advantage of its premise and animation by being more loose. You get a lot of craziness that helps separate it from BoJack and give it its own unique flavor. You genuinely can watch both this and BoJack and know they are by no means the same series, but they definitely work to whatever extent they're going for. The premise is about these two female birds who live in an apartment building together and pretty much go through life, which includes strong mentions of sex. And I mean strong mentions of sex. The overall themes of this series is basically slice of life with a major emphasis on silly comedy. They even have fairly relatable situations happen in the show, like having to deal with not getting far into your career or feeling like you're not good enough or just dealing with past traumatic events, and you know it works with how they go about it, which could easily be botched, but they handle it with such a delicate care, and I just really gotta commend them for that.
I bring a lot of zest to my environment.
The main characters are a pretty impressionable pair, and I do mean impressionable. There's Tuca, who's a toucan voiced by Tiffany Haddish, and is a very rambunctious lady. She just takes life as it comes and does not care what anyone else thinks, to an extent. Her character is done excellently with Tiffany's performance. She honestly was made to play this character with how over the top and just plain upbeat she is. Tuca also being a slob can be pretty hilarious a lot of the time.
I know. I'll go visit Birdie. Let's see. I'll put on my good walking shoes.
She even has a nice depth to her, sometimes showing her as being insecure about certain things, like being on a date with somebody she actually has a crush on rather than a random fling. Or coming to grips with the reality of soon having her friends leaving her, or just as well wanting to be closer to your family when you know you're not exactly the best out of the bunch. Then there's Birdie, played by Ali Wong, who's this fairly shy songbird, ironic, among the two. She acts so frail and innocent and tends to want to keep to herself, but clearly looks to Tuca for help in letting out some of her wild side. She embodies the many anxieties we all have with not being at our best, or just feeling like the future's moving too fast and having commitment issues, or breaking into song numbers about having a panic attack in a grocery store when you have to deal with being out in society too long. Like you do.
I feel my uncontrollable fear makes it impossible to stay here. I'm losing my shit right now.
She's losing her shit!
She's losing her shit for no reason.
For no reason.
I'm losing my grip.
She's losing her grip.
For all of the reasons.
All of the reasons.
There are too many fears to name. Snakes, earthquakes, blood, and hurricanes. I'm going crazy and losing my shit, but I can't help it.
She can't help it.
So I can't help it.
These two work as a good balance to each other. They come off as a match made in heaven for outright silly adventures and in-depth character development. Then they have Birdie's boyfriend Speckle, voiced by Steve Yeun, who sort of acts as a straight man to Tuca and Birdie. He has his fair share of silliness, with him pretty much coming off as a guy who just clearly wants to spend his time with Birdie, but her own anxiety gets in the way of their relationship, which honestly you find yourself caught in the middle between them. It has such a unique sense of drama that you're able to get wrapped into it.
I'm so sorry I didn't answer your calls. That 30-year fix stuff scared the shit out of me.
All you had to do was tell me.
I know, I tried, but you were like a runaway train with this house. How are you so sure that this is going to work out?
I don't really question it. I know that I want you now, and that's enough.
It's silly, but for me, sometimes making a big decision feels like closing a door.
That's okay. We can slow down and take it step by step.
The world Tuca and Birdie live in has a lot of charm, mostly due to the wackiness of it. You get many moments where something bizarre just happens, and I honestly love it for it. It even works in showing how the characters are feeling about something. Side characters as well do a great job in bringing life to such an odd concept. You kind of find yourself wanting to live there and just shoot the shit with them. They're just that interesting. This is just a world that you yourself want to just go rent an apartment or something and just live in. And I really like that sense of world building for this. That's just something a lot of shows tend not to do, and this one they were like, we're going all out with it. Even though it's supposed to be slice of life, it's like this is still a world you would want to hang out in. That's just something I really appreciate from them.
Yeah.
The humor is a lot zanier and random than BoJack Horseman. It prides itself in having this silly energy to it. You get some pretty goofy moments in the show with how they go about doing things.
You'll build a life out there, isolated from society, but not too far from a hospital. One night, when everyone's laughing and talking, you all unleash your desires and kiss as one. Finally, the intersection of passion and safety overflows until your bodies transcend the limits of pleasure. Whew.
Girl, you horny as shit.
You don't get too extreme of moments like with most other adult animated series where they have as much hyper-violence and sex. Granted, there's a good amount of sex mentioned, and nudity. Hell, they go as far as to give a plant boobs, clearly trying to start a whole new fetish. Have fun with her, internet. The dialogue is definitely nothing to scoff at. Character interactions can be downright hilarious with how they play off one another. Granted, this show can have some pretty hilarious and sometimes even fucked up moments between characters.
Now, Speckle, please eat me.
What?
Gobble me up, sweet child. I'm trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead, and I need you to eat me so my soul can finally rest.
I can't.
Be a good boy and eat your Gamby.
Yeah, eat the ghost cake. Eat the ghost cake.
I guess I can try a little, if that's what you want, Gamby.
The humor is fairly different from most other animated shows. Usually they put too much emphasis on raunchy or over-the-top comedy, or they'll be a bit subtle, but this series manages to find a nice middle ground with the over-the-top and subtle humor, which I got to give props to. The animation goes for a higher style than BoJack. Sometimes they'll have moments where the characters move like cutouts for comedic effect, or others where the character moves pretty fluidly. Or they just change up styles entirely, like when they go into claymation. The show manages to have more possibilities with what it wants to do, and it takes advantage of that. For instance, characters are more expressive and can go over the top with how they feel about something. There's even times where they need to showcase how someone's feeling about something, and the animation is used to express how our minds would over-exaggerate it. The stylization is put into overtime with some of the things they pull off when they want to transfer to a new location or scene. They use these differing segments to do so, and it actually works with the world around them. It really plays into everything. Whenever they do it, it just feels like a natural progression into the next part of the story, and I just really like that means of transition. It just flows perfectly. It just manages to ride like a wave just naturally, and that's just something I honestly can't get enough of.
Aw, you guys.
This show works on so many levels. It doesn't hit as deeply or depressingly as BoJack Horseman, but still manages to make you think about your own perspective and placement in life. You will find a good piece of yourself in the characters. They are the major strong point of the series with a great sense of depth to them, as well as positive energy. The animation has vibrancy to it that goes hand in hand with the drama and comedy of the series. Even the soundtrack to the series feels like something that's just well selected, just something that goes with everything happening with these characters, and honestly, I would not mind if they release a soundtrack for it. If BoJack Horseman showcases the depressing reality of our world, Tuca and Birdie showcases the positive outlook we can have to overcome it. But that's just a thought.